You take a bite of a burger. It's good. Then you add sauce, and suddenly it's not just good anymore. It's addictive, richer, sharper, complete. And that's the moment most people ignore, because the truth is, the real hero of most foods isn't the meat, or the bread, or the rice, it's the sauce. Think about it, dry food is forgettable. But the moment sauce touches it, everything changes, flavor explodes, texture transforms, and suddenly a simple dish becomes something you crave. So now the real question is, what exactly is sauce doing to your food, and why does every culture in the world have its own version of it? Because sauces are not random, they're engineered, designed to fix what food lacks. Too dry? Add moisture. Too bland? Add salt. Too heavy? Add acid. Sauce is balance, and once you understand this, you'll never look at food the same way again. Let's start with something you think you already understand. Ketchup. Simple, right? Tomatoes, sugar, vinegar. But that simplicity is deceptive. Ketchup is one of the most perfectly balanced sauces ever created. Sweet from sugar, acidic from vinegar, umami from tomatoes. That combination hits multiple taste receptors at the same time. That's why it works with fries, burgers, even eggs. It doesn't overpower, it enhances. But here's the catch. The reason ketchup tastes so addictive is because it's slightly sweeter than it needs to be. That extra sugar pushes it into comfort food territory. It's not just flavor, it's familiarity. Now put ketchup next to mayonnaise. Completely different experience. Mayo is not about sharpness, it's about richness. It's made by emulsifying oil and egg yolk, creating a thick, creamy texture. But here's where it gets interesting. Mayo doesn't scream flavor, it carries it. It smooths everything out. Ever noticed how sandwiches without mayo feel dry? That's because mayo acts like a lubricant for your food. It reduces friction. It makes every bite feel softer, more cohesive. And when you mix mayo with something acidic, like lemon or vinegar, it suddenly wakes up. That's why flavored mayo variations feel so powerful. Now let's combine those two worlds, ketchup and mayo, and you get something even more interesting. Sauces like burger sauce or Thousand Island. This is where things start getting engineered. Sweet, creamy, tangy, all in one bite. That's not accidental. That's designed to hit every part of your taste system at once, and this is exactly what restaurants do. They don't rely on one flavor, they stack them. Now we move into something deeper, mustard. This is where people get divided. Some love it, some hate it. But mustard is not just spicy, it's sharp, it cuts through fat. That's its job. When you add mustard to a fatty burger or sandwich, it balances the richness. Without it, the food feels heavy. With it, everything feels lighter, even though nothing actually changed except one layer of flavor. That's the power of contrast. And then there's hot sauce. This is where things stop being about taste and start becoming about sensation, because spice is not technically a flavor, it's pain. Capsaicin activates your pain receptors. So why do people love it? Because your brain responds to that pain with pleasure. It releases endorphins. That's why spicy food feels addictive. And hot sauce doesn't just add heat, it adds excitement. It makes food feel alive. Even a boring dish can become interesting with the right level of spice. But here's something most people don't realize. Not all hot sauces are the same. Some are vinegar-based, sharp and tangy. Others are thicker, almost paste-like with deeper flavors. The difference changes everything. One wakes up your taste buds. The other sits heavy and intense. Same idea, completely different experience. Now let's step into something darker, soy sauce. This is where we enter the world of umami, the fifth taste. Soy sauce is fermented, which means it's packed with deep, complex flavors. It doesn't taste strong in the usual way, but it makes everything else stronger. Add a few drops to almost anything, and suddenly it tastes more complete. That's because umami amplifies savory notes. It's not loud, but it's powerful. And once you understand umami, you start seeing it everywhere. Now let's move into something bold, something loud, something impossible to ignore. BBQ sauce. This is not a subtle sauce, this is a statement. Sweet, smoky, tangy, sometimes spicy. BBQ sauce is built to dominate. And there's a reason for that. Because it's usually paired with heavy, fatty meats like ribs, brisket, or grilled chicken. These foods are rich, dense, almost overwhelming on their own. BBQ sauce cuts through that weight with sweetness and acidity while adding a smoky depth that makes everything feel grilled, even if it isn't. But here's the interesting part. BBQ sauce isn't one thing. In some places it's thick and sweet, almost like syrup. In others it's thinner, sharper, more vinegar heavy. And that changes everything. One version coats your food, the other seeps into it. Same name, completely different experience. Now let's shift to something that feels like the opposite. White sauces. Creamy, smooth, quiet but powerful. Think about garlic sauce, ranch, Alfredo. These sauces don't hit you instantly, they build. They wrap around your food and slowly take over the flavor. And the reason they feel so satisfying is fat. Fat carries flavor longer on your tongue. That's why creamy sauces feel richer. They don't just taste good, they last longer in your mouth. But here's where people mess up at home. They try to make creamy sauces without understanding balance. Because fat alone is not enough. You need acid, a squeeze of lemon, a hint of vinegar, something to cut through that heaviness. Without it, the sauce feels dull, almost suffocating. With it, everything opens up. Now let's go global, because every culture has mastered sauce in its own way. In Italy, sauces are about simplicity. Tomato sauce, pesto, olive oil. Few ingredients but perfect balance. Tomato sauce is not just tomatoes, it's acidity, sweetness and depth built slowly over time. Pesto is fresh herbs, oil, nuts, cheese. It's raw, vibrant and alive. Nothing is hidden, everything is clear. Now compare that to curry-based sauces in South Asia. Completely different philosophy. Here, sauce is not a side, it's the dish itself. Layered spices, slow cooking, oil separating at the top. That's a sign the sauce is ready. And every spice has a role, not just for flavor, but for depth, aroma and even color. You don't just taste it, you experience it. Then we move to East Asia, where sauces like teriyaki and oyster sauce take center stage. Sweet, salty, glossy. These sauces are designed to coat food perfectly, to stick, to shine. That glossy finish you see on restaurant food, that's sauce doing visual work. Because food isn't just about taste, it's about how it looks before you even take a bite. Now here's something you need to understand. Sauces don't just change flavor, they change perception. A dry piece of chicken feels boring. Add sauce and suddenly it feels premium, juicy, tender, complete. Same chicken, completely different experience. So now the real question is, are sauces improving food or are they hiding its flaws? Because sometimes they do both. And that's exactly why restaurants rely on them. Because sauce gives control. Control over flavor, texture, consistency. You can take something average and make it memorable. And that's power. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you understand sauces, you stop depending on recipes. You start building flavor yourself. You taste something and think it needs acid, it needs salt, it needs richness, and you fix it. Not by guessing, but by understanding. And that's the difference between cooking and actually knowing how to cook. So the next time you eat something and think this tastes amazing, don't just look at the main ingredient, look at the sauce, because most of the time, that's where the real magic is. So tell me, what's your favorite sauce? The one you can't eat without? Like, comment and subscribe for more deep dives into food. And as always, stay hungry.